Hey everybody, and welcome to the View podcast. Joining me this week is Kev from Leeds House and Max from Leeds. Lately, how are you doing, lads? Kev, how's things, mate? How's your week been?
Good, it's been great. Not much going on with Leeds, but yeah, looking forward to the weekend. Thanks for asking.
No, good. Max, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, pretty much the same. It's been nice to come off the back of beating the league leaders, and just nice a week where you can sort of relax and think, right, let's get another win under our belt and then go into the international break. But yeah, plenty to talk about in today's show with the press conference and stuff. So how are you, Jer? We never ask.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm knackered, but I'm good. I've had a long week at work, but I'm tired, but I'm good. And I'm, again, same thing. Wasn't it great to have a weekend where the match was out of the way early? It all went our way. Ipswich dropped more points this week again. 2 games in a row they dropped points. So that made my week. I was delighted all week. I was very close to getting my prediction right about them losing at the weekend. I was disgusted to see them get the equaliser.
Yeah.
But they've dropped points, and that made me very happy. And then you have a whole week of just stress-free stuff, and then the press conference happens, and you hear about Pascal Struijk, and you go, oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh
God.
Before we get into that, I will say, isn't it a great position to be in for Pascal Struijk that when you hear he's absent from the squad, that the fans are thinking, oh, that's not good. Whereas 12 months ago, where would you have been if you said Stroke's out of the squad? You'd be like,
yeah.
You know,
you've been like, oh, good.
Fair enough. Yeah. Have we got another left back? Yeah.
Well, Farkas said that, didn't he? He said in his press conference, he said, he made a joke to Struijk that playing with 2 hernias this season, he's playing better than he played in the whole of last season with no hernias, or something like playing at 80% of his capacity this season. It's better than his whole season last season, which I'm sure was a joke, but Struijk probably thought, I had a bit of a miserable time last season.
Thanks for bringing that up again, Daniel. I was trying to forget about that. Nice one.
Like in the UK office where he's like, you're still thinking about the bad news, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, look, we'll see how we get on. We'll get into that in a sec. Just a quick reminder, the guys' channel's content is linked below. And from Kev's perspective, Kev is from Leeds House, but he also runs a podcast every week called Not Another Leeds Podcast, which is in conjunction with Not Another Leeds Podcast that Danny runs. So details of that are in the description as well. You can check that out. Max is running a fantastic series. I have to say that because I'm part of it. But Max is running a fantastic series on his channel called Dream Team, which, to clarify for anybody who's watched it, is about the person he's interviewing's favorite team, not the best team. And that's the big point. But he's done it with himself. He's done it with Lockie, and there's more Leeds United content creators lined up for that as well. So you can check them out. I'll link all of that stuff down below in the description. I'm going to start off, Kev. Press conference. Actually, sorry, before we get into any championship and Leeds news, there was something that popped up tonight. I never even discussed it this week before we went live, so I probably should have. But news coming out of Sky Sports tonight that the Premier League are going to put a temporary ban on clubs loaning players between clubs who are owned by the same owners. And this apparently is to prevent Newcastle from bringing Ruben Neves in to replace Sandro Tonali, which I thought was a bit bizarre. Max, what are your thoughts on that?
Well,
and did you see this coming a mile away, by the way?
Yeah, but it's also happened before, hasn't it? New York City FC loaned Frank Lampard, or sold Frank Lampard back to Man City after he'd left Chelsea. And so it has happened before, and but that's kind of the point of owning multiple clubs, isn't it? Like the whole Red Bull system and things like that. It's so that they can say, oh, bloody hell, this player's doing really well at Salzburg. We can send him to Leipzig. And that's like the whole point of owning a franchise of clubs, isn't it? But yeah, I know the rumor was sort of fizzing around, wasn't it, that Ruben Neves might be the Tonali replacement, and then somebody's come and shut the door on this, or is going to.
There was talk of it happening in the summer. There was talk that he had moved from Wolves to Al Hilal. I think it's Al Hilal he's playing for. I went to Al Hilal. And then there was talk of him going straight to Newcastle because Wolves wouldn't sell him to a Premier League club. So that was the way around. I was like, well, that wouldn't have gone down well. That kind of got the kibosh pretty quickly. And now they're looking at this. Kev, what do you think about the situation?
I could see it coming from a mile away, like you just said.
All right.
It's strange because Chelsea owns Strasbourg as well. And they've loaned loads of players to Strasbourg. It's like half of their team that's starting each week is Chelsea players. And Crystal Palace and Lyon, I think, have got the same thing as well. I think there's a fine line between loaning clubs with stuff like that, because we saw it with Watford. Were crazy for it, weren't they? With Udinese, and it gave them an unfair advantage when they were in the Championship and they went up off the back of all those loan players. But this one, I could see it coming. Yeah, I could see it coming a mile away. It's, if you were right about that Ruben Neves deal with him being touted to go straight away, then yeah, it stinks really, doesn't it? But it just means they'll probably go after KP in January now, don't they?
Well, he's been linked. Liverpool apparently today are interested in KP as well, and Juventus. I'd love to see him go to Juve. Go to Juve, mate, and really make a name for yourself on the European scene. Go and do that, or just hang on 6 months and come back to here when we get promoted. That would also be great. Love to see that.
He's still going to get called up to the England squad, isn't he? Anyway, he's not going to miss out on the Euros. So
it's like England is his club team, and Manchester City is his national side. Isn't it? He plays regularly for England, and then gets a call up every now and then to Man City to kick a ball around. I don't know. I feel sorry for the guy. I really like him. I'd love to see him do well. I just don't think he's been treated correctly at Man City. But then I'm probably biased. I am biased. Right, well, let's get in and talk about the press conference. Plymouth game coming up this weekend on the back of a very good victory for Leeds against the Leicester. Kev, just thoughts on the game, by the way. Just top line thoughts on the Leicester game.
Fantastic. We outran them, outplayed them. It was a really, really good advert for Championship football. You can't ask for a better game than that on a Friday night at 8 o'clock, can you? It was just absolutely fantastic. And they put everybody's in a good mood now with Leeds. I know the Leicester fans are not happy and saying mind the gap, but we're going to catch us up as well. I'm quietly confident now after that, because when we were talking, we thought it was going to be a draw, didn't we? It was going to be a high scoring draw. That's what we said on the show. It's just we kept a clean sheet, scored a good goal. Yeah, really happy with it. Onwards and upwards.
I loved listening to the Leicester stuff on propaganda this week on the Square Ball, where it was the same guy just kept saying, mind the gap, we're 11 points. We're 11 points clear, but we're 11 points clear. Like, that wasn't the narrative going into that game. The narrative going into that game was Dewsbury Hall and Winks are going to destroy your team. And then they didn't. And it's like, well, there's 11 points of a gap between us. So, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I don't really
most childish response.
I don't really get that, because if we, like, when we lose a game, I know personally, I always look at what we did wrong. I don't look at, I don't like say, oh no, the opponents got lucky, that whatever. I always look at what we did wrong and what we could. But some people just must be like completely so angry when they lose that they just say, oh no, you didn't deserve that. But like, and they were getting annoyed at Phil Hayes' tweets as well, weren't they? But
yeah, they were, and they were wrong as well. They were misquoted.
Phil Hayes saying it could have been a couple of more, but it could have been, because the first 5-10 minutes we pressed them so high that Hermansen in goal for them, he just kept giving the ball away, and Pirro should have put one in the back of the net. Jorginho should have put one in the back of the net as well. He should have taken that shot early from the left hand side and just tried to sweep it into the bottom corner, and we could have been 2-0 up within about 10 minutes. So yes, the rest of the game was a lot more even, but when you actually look at the chances that we had, the chances that they had was just a pot shot from the edge of the box, which hit the bar. No, actually, come on.
Not on target.
A pot shot. That was brilliant what he did. He sent Sam Byron for a hot dog, and it would have been a bit of individual brilliance. And then that one right at the end where Meslier pulls it out the top corner. But other than that, yeah, it's like we did well. We kept Dewsbury Hall quiet as a church mouse. He didn't do anything. We just played our football, and did
Jimmy Vardy have a kick of the ball in the game? I don't remember.
He did. He came back into his own half, and he put it into touch. Do you remember? He came back to get the ball and just played it straight out, and everyone went, "Woo!"
Glenn Kamara bullied him.
I don't remember.
Absolutely bullied Jamie Vardy. Glenn Kamara did that game.
Brilliant. Glenn Kamara bullied everybody. I've said this on another podcast this week, but I'm going to say it again. I was wrong. I was wrong. And I'm happy to be wrong. I'm delighted. He had a fantastic game. He was second ball, sweeping, nicking in, picking up things off people, balls that are breaking down, stepping in, getting us going again. He was excellent, and he was excellent for the whole game. So I was delighted to see that. And Kev, we go Plymouth next, 19th in the table. We've had a bit of a uncomfortable enough run with teams down in that part of the league so far this season. These have been our banana skins. How are you feeling coming into this game? Before we talk about let's just talk about the injuries as well. Yeah. Knowing what you know, how are you feeling about this game?
I'm quite confident about this one, because we're at home and we're going to be wearing the white kit, of course. If we're wearing the white kit, we're going to be fine. I've looked at a little bit of the Plymouth team. I don't know that many of them, I know that they've got a lad called Finn Zaz. He seems quite good. The young Irish fella. He seems like a quite good player. And Ryan Hardy seems to be doing on some good form up front too. But they're a young team. They seem quite slow at the back. I think this could be the one where we actually hammer someone that might be Plymouth on Saturday.
It was interesting to see what Farkas said about them. I think it was
Mm.
Phil Hay or Adam Pope asked the question saying that they don't expect Plymouth to come to Leeds and sit back because they have been having a go at teams. So this young, exciting team. We've done well against sides that have come out against us, Max, haven't we? We've had these teams where they've left a bit of space in behind, and we've seen Chris Somerville, Rutter, and Dan James absolutely destroyed them. So
I think it goes one of two ways, though. I think it goes one of two ways, because then you saw what Stoke did to us, and they came flying out of the blocks, and they basically did what we did to Leicester in the first sort of 10, 15 minutes. And they flew out and they stopped us playing out from the back, which is worrying because we don't have our chief ball player at the back in Pascal Struijk, and we've got Cooper. So there's that to contend with, them coming out quick. And if they do press us, they might find that they get some joy early on, and we have to then get into the game, unless we start fast and just don't even let them do that by being on the front foot straight away. But yeah, it's a difficult one because, I think it could go either way. I really do, because if they can get out early and press us, and they have a chance with the way that we've played against teams like Stoke. But we are at home. We are in the white kit. All things seem to be sort of stacked towards us. Talking with kits, by the way, their home kit is lovely. That green and gold kit. Lovely nice, kit. Yeah. But hopefully we see them get beat in it, because I think we certainly got it in the tank to beat them, but it's just how we start the game. And he actually did address that in the press conference, didn't he, about how fast we start games.
Max, it's great when you come prepared. I haven't watched the press conference. I enjoy this a lot.
Yeah, there was one time where I hadn't watched it, and I was like, do you know what? Yeah, probably easier if I watch it.
And you're fully up to speed. You're dead right. Let's talk about that, Kev. Let's talk about what he said in the press conference, and especially let's talk about the injuries first. It's a hell of an injury list building up all of a sudden. We'll rattle through. We've got Joe Gelhardt out with a hand injury, but doesn't require surgery, so that's good news. Pascal Struijk doesn't just have a hernia problem. Farka confirmed it's a double hernia problem, so that's not ideal either, because that takes a lot longer. We've got Stuart Dallas, who's still doing individual training, but hopes to be back with the group after the international break. Jamie Shackleton is out with a glute strain. Patrick Bamford has been ill all week and has only trained a bit yesterday, but that was a light session. Might train today. And then Charlie Creswell's been out all week with a personal issue. And then the big one there, as we've already mentioned it, is Pascal Struijk, who 12 months ago, if we'd heard Pascal Struijk was missing for a game, we would have probably just, dismissed it and moved on. Now he is an integral part of this team as a leader as well as the captain. Kev, how are you feeling knowing that it looks, for all intensive purposes, that Liam Cooper will come into that left centre-back role and slot in place of Struijk? How are you feeling about that?
I am feel. That's all I need to. I am feel. No, he's. I'm like we spoke about before. I'm more confident that he's going to be slotting into left centre back than everybody moving around to accommodate Liam Cooper. I do think Joe Roden might be able to carry Cooper through this game. I don't think we'll be passing out from the back as quick as we have been, because Struijk's like ball carrying and his progressive passes like in the top 5 in the league if the last time I checked. So he's like really important to the way that we play. I don't think Cooper's going to be booting it through the middle of the park, laying off passes to our strikers like Struijk has done before. But if he's going to play a game and Struijk's going to miss one match, this could be the match for him to play, in my eyes at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree. The fact that it's the left centre-back role and not the right centre-back role, I think, Max, is the key one for me on this. I think if it's Roden that's out, then you're looking at 2 left centre-backs. You're looking at Struijk moving out of position, then Cooper coming in. We haven't looked good when they've been together. Yeah. With that in mind, how are you feeling about what you've heard today?
Well, I'm interested to see how it pans out, because I think, because as you can see from the statistics, Pascal Struijk is our chief ball player. So most of the time we go through him, and yes, the ball goes to Rodon, but usually he gives it back to Struijk, and then Struijk's the one who progresses the ball up the pitch. So I'll be interested to see in this first sort of 5-10 minutes of the game, whether it's Rodon or whether it's Cooper that's the one trying to progress the ball. Now, in the Leicester game, I did see Rodon actually come out a little bit and then play some passes through their press and play sort of like pinged balls into the feet of the midfielders to try and get us up the pitch. And maybe he is trying to start to take on some more of that responsibility. But I think there will be a little bit of a learning curve if it is Rodon that's expected to get the ball at the pitch, because as we've known so far, most of our attacks are coming up the left-hand side. And I think that's because you've got Pascal on the left who's playing the ball forward. And then you've got the combination of Somerville and Jorginho linking up on that side. And that's always been our strong side. So if Rodon has the responsibilities of progressing the ball from that right-hand side, that means we're probably going to play more prominently on the right-hand side. Are we used to that? Are we as confident with our patterns and the way that we move when we go up the right-hand side? I'm not sure. I think Dan James is more of a, not vibes player, because that's a bit harsh, but like he's more of a just go. Do you know what I mean? Rather than scripted patterns, but maybe he is learning that now he's got a proper coach. But yeah, I'll be interested to see in the first 5-10 minutes which player is the one given the responsibility to get the ball forward and whether they've got it in the locker to do it, because that could be a big downfall if we can't.
Yeah, I think Dan James is benefiting from us going on the left an awful lot, because it brings the opposition across to the left-hand side, frees up space, and that big diag switch for him to run onto comes into play as well. So he may have to do an awful lot more creative work from deeper. It'll be a big game. It'll be an important one for them. I mean, you can't come off the back of a great result against Leicester and hammer and Huddersfield and then slip up against a Plymouth. Like you can't if we're going to keep closing gaps. Outside of that, the injury list, I mean, it's pretty much as we were. The other good bit of news is Djed Spence looks like he should be back and ready to go. Interesting comment from Daniel Farke, where he said he'll still need pushing even when the odd time when he does come back, which I thought was a strange comment to make. Not sure what it's referenced to, whether it's motivation or keeping him, tuned in, but maybe he doesn't want to kind of just unleash him just yet with the all the hope and promise that everyone thinks he's going to come in and walk into the team and just dominate. But
I think we've seen that before from Farke, haven't we? Talking about young players and stuff, and like Somerville or Gnonto, whatever. Even when they're playing brilliantly, he likes to try and not knock them down a peg or two, but to put something in there saying, oh, he needs to keep up those. You heard it with Rodon in this very press conference. He said, oh, Rodon's played really well so far this season, but he has to keep it up next game and the game after. He doesn't like to give credit and just be like, there you go, you're brilliant forever, does he? So I feel like that's personally for him, he probably thinks, yeah, Djed Spence will walk straight in this team. But I think it's a public forum where he can say he will still need to push, he will still need to work hard, because otherwise, I don't know, maybe he thinks Spence will just think, well, I can just walk into this team. Do you know what I mean? So maybe it's just a man management tactic, I think.
Do you think he's trying to manage the fans and the team's expectation of what Djed Spence?
I was just going to say.
Bring immediately into it too as well. I think he's just basically trying not to blow his trumpet too hard, too soon and too early, considering he's been out for so long. But you can see that he wants him back straight away.
He said he had tonsillitis as well, didn't he?
Yeah. He said delayed him slightly, having the week or two off. Yeah, delayed him.
Yeah, because he was injured
What's
and then
going on,
coming back, and then tonsillitis. It's like, bloody hell, nothing goes right.
They've all had it. Yeah, they've all had it. There's so much stuff going on behind the scenes right now in terms of just little small bits and pieces and delays and things. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this situation coming into the weekend. I really am. I'm a little nervous about the change of backline.
Do you know what I think though, Jer? I think there's one sort of positive to take, and I don't know if you agree with this, but for me, even though I'd probably say that Pascal has been the better centre-back this season, I would rather Pascal be missing and have to play centre-back than... Pascal be missing and Cooper have to play centre-back than Rodon be missing and Cooper have to play centre-back, simply because there's the pace of Rodon. And Pascal Struijk is not fast. And
he's leggy.
He's slow. And so is Liam Cooper. But we've seen multiple times this season that when Pascal's been done, Rodon's always there getting back. And
he's deceptively fast, isn't he?
Yeah, he gets between the player and the ball and just shields it back to Meslier so often when they think they have a one-on-one. So I think it being Cooper and Rodon's gonna have one eye on thinking I'm gonna have to cover him here. And I think that sort of helps with the fact that Cooper can make mistakes, and I think Rodon will probably have an eye on that and be ready to sweep, if you will. So I think that's better than having 2 slow centre backs with one out of position, even though Struik's probably played better than Rodon this season.
I think one of the
agree.
I think one of the telling things from the press conference regarding the centre back was he come out and said afterwards that Ampadu and Sam Byram can play there as well. So maybe he's still got little thoughts in his head that something might change. Do you think he would put Ampadu as a centre back?
Well, we've seen it with Luke Ayling, because I mean, Luke Ayling was once, we didn't have a right back. You thought Luke Ayling will pop back in there, and it's been Jamie Shackleton. Then when Shackleton got injured, it was Archie Gray. It wasn't Bill. Bill was still on the bench, so he has bypassed the more experienced players, but he has talked an awful lot about Liam Cooper's leadership. And you're obviously with Struijk missing, you're missing your captain as well. I agree with what Max is saying, though. I think the fact that it's the left centre back that's missing, and Cooper being a natural left centre back, and a right centre back is still a natural right centre back and not a left footer playing there. I think that's a bit more of a benefit. I don't want to be unfair to Liam Cooper either, because he was very good the first game of the season against Cardiff, even though we weren't particularly great the first game of the season against Cardiff. But what he can do very well is those diagonal balls into space over fullbacks' heads, like those balls into space with Dan James or Jorginho Rutter.
People forget he's got a good pass on him.
He's got a little bit long range.
He did it in the Bielsa system,
range. All the time. And it depends on how we can get up. If the back line can get up to the halfway line with him on the ball, I think you'll see these nice balls going in. But look,
I think
it was always going to happen, wasn't it?
I think it's definitely going to be him, by the way, just to what you said, Kev, because I think what Farke is saying about Sam Byram can also play there, and Ethan Ampadu can also play there. I think that was after, I think it was Phil Hay who asked this one, or maybe one of the journalists anyway, Graham Smith, Phil Hay, Adam Pope, one of them. They said, so we expect Liam Cooper to go in there, and Daniel Farke was originally answering him and then was like, oh yeah, but I don't want to give the team away because the other coach will be listening to this. So then I think, as a bit of an afterthought, he said, oh, we've got Sam Byram who can play there, and Cooper and Ethan Ampadu who can also play there. And I think that was just to say, oh, it could be any of them. Just do you know what I mean? Just for the opposition's benefit. But I think surely it's Cooper, just with his left-footedness. And
not just that though, Max. It's if you don't put Cooper there, like let's say you decide to drop Ethan Ampadu in there. Right, no issue with him going in there, but that means you got to rotate the middle of the park now as well. And then either Gruev has to come in there, or somebody else, or Archie has to come in there. If you put Sam Byram in there, well, then someone has to play left back, so someone else has to go in there. So just facilitating moving one player means you've also got to add a second player somewhere else to fill in that gap. We're bringing Liam Cooper directly in from him. Sam Byram stays exactly where he is. Ampadu stays. Nobody else moves bar the one player who's obviously dropping out. So. It has to. I mean, it's not going to be anybody. Look, we could be here next week going, right, so Ampadu played centre back. We were wrong again. But I don't see it.
The only thing that I can see him doing with that is maybe reining Sam Byram in a little bit to cover some of Cooper's deficiencies, and you'd maybe see Archie Gray, whoever's on. It's going to be Archie Gray right back tomorrow, isn't it? On Saturday, sorry. I think it's what we're going to see, and he'll probably end up going more further forward than what Sam Byram usually does on the other side, because he's probably maybe looking after Cooper a little bit more. That's the only thing that I can see how we're going to be a bit more solid on that side on there.
Yeah, he doesn't have the options. I think he said and again, I agree with Max's point about being a afterthought comment, because he doesn't have the options, because again, just as you mentioned, in Archie going right back, which means he can't play Ethan Ampadu centre back, because he's not going to put Gruev in there. He's just not right now. It's not a game to mess around and play with it, and he's not going to put Junior Firpo in at left back in this game either. That would be the worst case scenario. Would be having a left back and a left centre back that are Liam Cooper and Junior Firpo. There would be too many flashbacks from parts of last season that I don't think I could watch that game. I have to walk away from it, I think.
With what you said about Cooper, Joe, he playing well in the first game of the season, and I think he did. And I think when we saw him last come on was when he basically gave away a penalty that it was a penalty. But obviously the ref never gave it. But I think that was because he came on as a substitute. I think it's centre back must be one of the most difficult positions to come on as a substitute, because if you make a mistake, an early mistake, then you're knackered then, aren't you? If you come on as a winger and you make a mistake and you slice the ball into the crowd instead of crossing it in, it's not the end of the world. You've got another chance to get your eye in. But as a centre-back, when he came on, he just got done instantly. And it's kind of like not having that time to get used to the game, not having that time to get that positional awareness, how the opposition's playing against you. I think it makes a difference. And I think that's why teams don't often swap out centre-backs. But I think now we're learning that Pascal Struijk's got this hernia thing. That's probably why he got taken off, because Farke knew of this persistent sort of pain that he was having. So he was probably like, oh, let's give him a rest. And I don't think usually you would really swap your centre backs, would you?
Not really, unless you had to. I mean, you don't really touch the spine of your team unless you have to. That's the most of it. I agree with you. Again, I agree with you, because not only just from a technical perspective coming into a game, but also from a speed and being fully up to pace with the game. A centre back coming on, have somebody tearing at you who's been on the pitch for 40, 50 minutes, who's fully up to game pace, whose body is fully lubricated, for lack of a better term, and is, warmed up. And
when I was talking about Adama Traore, he's the only one who lubricates his body before he goes on the pitch.
Get ready to go. Yeah. Greasy arms. Yeah, but I do think it is. If you're coming on, even after warm up on the sideline, you're not fully ready.
Yeah, it's
yet.
Something that people like
to get into a game.
Even playing amateur football, like if people are watching this, if you've never played football at like open age level and stuff, it's mad how you can come on. Like I was often on the bench, right? I would always come on at right back, and obviously expected to get up and down. And the first 5 minutes, I'd be like nearly being sick, because I'm like, oh my God, I have to try and get up to the pace of the game. Then you have a second wind and you can do it again. But for those first sort of 5-10 minutes when you've been brought on the pitch, you are way more knackered than the people who've been playing 60-70 minutes. And you're like, how's this fair? I've been warming up the whole time, but that intensity, it's so hard to get up to the speed of it. Obviously, this is a different level because of the fitness, but it's still a thing, isn't it? That you come on and you're like, right, I need to get into this. So hopefully he's better from the start is the point I'm coming round to.
Well, that's Luke Ayling as well, because he's coming on for the last 5 minutes and he's struggling in those 5 minutes as well. So he needs to come on 10 minutes before, so he can get up to speed straight faster.
I don't think Luke Ayling has fallen off as far as he appears to have fallen off.
No,
I don't think
he
so
has.
I do think some of it is just coming into a game that's at full pelt and you're at 60% and you're not up to speed just yet. But yeah, I always say that it's making changes. This was my criticism of Firke at the start of the season. Making changes in the 75th, 80th minute, like it's not really benefiting anybody, because those players coming on aren't going to make a massive impact, because by the time they've got up to speed of the game, it's over. So you want to be giving players a minimum of a half an hour to really get in to make a difference in a game.
That's why it's a common thing to have substitutes come on in the 60th, 65th minute or something, just like 10 minutes after halftime, 15 minutes after halftime. That's why it's a thing, because it does take you say professional football, it probably takes you 5 minutes to get up to speed. But if you come in on the 75th minute, you're wasting a third of your time on the pitch getting up to speed. So I'm doing loads of arm gestures that you can't even see there, but it does make a difference.
Just outside the screen and you're moving things around.
It's down there actually.
We'll do some score predictions on this one, because we weren't right. Was anybody right last week? I don't think we were.
No.
I said that we would lose 3-1 or something like that.
Oh well, that's okay.
Because I thought we would start slow. I said if we start slow, we're going to get battered, but we didn't. So hopefully we start quick again.
I think he's learned that. I think he brought it up in the press conference again today. He said it. Yeah. Got to start fast. We got to start fast. We're a very good side when we start fast. We're a very, very, very good team when we start fast. Kev, give me a score prediction for this one before we get into other topics.
I'm going to go a bit out there. I'm going to actually think we're going to win 6-1. I know we'll concede because I'm going 6-1. I am. I don't normally go that high, as you know. I'm normally quite conservative, but I'm going to go 6-1 against Plymouth. I've just got a feeling.
Okay. Max?
It's worth a quid, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
If that comes in, bloody hell. I think we're going to win 2-0. I think we're going to get back to our clean sheeting ways just before the international break. Or certainly I'd like to see us do that. I'd like to see us get a nice clean sheet before the international break and be like, okay, we're capable of keeping a clean sheet again. Obviously we did against Leicester, but to start that streak again. So hopefully, we win 2-0 and keep a clean sheet. That would be lovely.
Because we're always guaranteed to win after an international break, aren't we? We always win after an international break.
We'll come straight in after, and then we lose the second game.
Yeah.
That's when we lose the second one after the international break. Yeah. I was exactly where you were, Kev. I thought we could put a number past these guys, but we will concede, because when we do go for teams, we do leave ourselves open. However, I've had a little look at their scores. They don't concede a huge amount of goals. Now, they have conceded 6 in the last 2 games. But prior to that, there was a couple of clean sheets and very, very low scoring games.
Well, apparently they're
or
decent.
goals.
They're decent at home. They're just really bad away.
That's exactly what it looks like. Yeah. But so I'm with Max on this. I think 2-0. I think we get a 2-0 win. Rest of a few players for international break. I wouldn't have an issue with a couple of Welsh players having a little niggle after the game that would force them out of international football for a couple of weeks. I would be okay with that as well. And a young 19 or 17-year-old Englishman at the right back position would be great as well if you could have a rest for a couple of weeks. I'd love that. So a couple of hamstring strains, nothing too serious, you know, just a niggle. Yeah. We're going to for a week. Right. Just a moment to just congratulate somebody. Jorginho Rutter has been called up to the French under-21 squad, which is fantastic. I think it's 2 years since he's been in that squad. He's been brilliant, hasn't he? He's been
Brilliant.
great.
He is football, isn't he? It's just everything that you grew up loving about football, watching on TV, skills, passing, great passes, all that. He is that. So he's just like a little kid inside of his mind as well, just always being funny. He deserved this. After the stick he got at the start of the year and when he come in last year, it's just great. It's just great. And I think everyone loves him now as well. That's the good thing about Jorginho Rutter. I think he's everyone's favourite player, which is great. And this is deserved because there's some good players in that France under-21 squad. And he's made it in. That Callum Wendo that was meant to come to us, he's in there as well. So hopefully he starts over him.
Yeah, fully deserved, I think, get that call up. Absolutely. The performance he's been putting in this season. I think more, I know it's the under-21s only, but more and more national teams are starting to realise that really the championship is sort of like one of the, it would be in the top 10 leagues in Europe, let's say.
Yeah.
So you've got your top 5 leagues, and then you've got like the Eredivisie and the Liga Portugal and leagues like that. And then after that, you think, well, there's not much after that other than the sort of championship. You put most championship teams into like the Belgian league or the other leagues like that, which you see them regularly have Champions League teams. You'd think, they do all right. Like, so I think people are starting to recognize now that the championship is of such a standard that these players can go and play international football. And Jorginho Rutter is probably doing a lot of his teammates and other players in the league a favour by getting call-ups like that, and Wilfried Gnonto as well. But
I think what we noticed with that is that Thierry Henry and Mancini, who picked both of them, have played or managed in England, so they know of the level of the championship. This is why they've been called up. You can see that Gnonto, different manager of Italy now, but I think he still rates him, so hopefully he can get called up and stay.
Yeah, I haven't seen an Italian side just yet, so I don't have announced it just yet, or maybe just out. Yeah, well done, Jorginho Rutter. And it just goes to that point of don't judge young players so quickly. Give them time. You know, so many people are like, get him in the bin, get rid of him, he's crap, get rid of him. And we've heard that for lots of young players that we've had over the years. I wouldn't be in a rush to get rid of them. And then even the ones we do get rid of, like Huggins and Leif Davis, who are both absolutely killing it at their clubs in the championship right now. So yeah, don't be so quick to judge young players. They can peak at very, very, very different ages. So yeah. Player just mentioned there, last topic of the podcast for this week, Wilfried Gnonto. I will caveat this and say this out straight. There is mixed noise around Wilfried Gnonto. There is Willie's response to the post saying that he wanted to move away from Leeds was to put a laughing face emoji, which is fine. The other side to it is that his agent has been speaking publicly to Calcio Mercato in Italy, where he has said that Wilfried played in the Premier League. He likes that level. He thinks that level is next for him. There is January coming up and they're going to speak to Leeds. So that would fuel some fire. Daniel Farke in his press conference today was asked about the situation, asked about Wilfried Gnonto, and said doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't want to talk about January until January, has spoken enough about the Willie Gnonto situation in the summer, doesn't want to take the time now during windows to talk about stuff like this, talk about it in January when it comes up. Kev, where are you at with this? What's your take on the whole situation? And what did you make of Farke's response to that?
I thought he was quite coy. I don't know if you both agree with me. He's kind of like danced around the question, and went back to what he said during the summer. What I think about this is I think his agent is trying to get a payday out of this because he did it with Zaniolo. We mentioned this before. We spoke about it before. They're not a very big agency. They don't have many clients. I think like Gnonto's obviously they're one of their main clients. They're trying to just fish for a move. I actually don't think he wants to leave. And one thing, I don't know if you guys have saw the training videos from the club today where they're doing where they put it out and do the training with the music and stuff like that. Farke doesn't let players train with the team if they don't want to be there, and Gnonto was in the squad laughing his head off. I think his agent's trying to do this, and maybe even trying to get Leeds fans to turn on him, so he wants to leave himself as well. This is what I think's happening. I'm a big conspiracy nut when it comes to football and stuff like that. So that's what I think. Yeah.
This agent has form. He's done it before with other players. He's damaged careers. Like he damaged Zaniolo's career last year. Like he really did.
And now it's being done for betting. Yeah.
There you go. You know, so like his agent has got form with this. I actually, I think it's a really good point that you bring up. The fact that the player is still involved in training, is still laughing and smiling, great. His agent, I always thought during the summer Willie needed to get rid of his agent. That was what I thought. He needed to go to a different agency, move on from this guy. He didn't. He stuck with him. That's the piece for me that I'm worried about. This guy is talking an awful lot. He's talking publicly. Willie's saying the opposite. And if it is the case that Willie's right and Willie doesn't want to go anywhere and he's happy enough now and he's going to fight for his place, great. Tell your agent to back off. Tell your agent to stop talking because it's not helping Willie. It will turn people against Willie again. It will make the situation that he's got himself in a position where he's resolved his problem. It will bring that back up again, and he doesn't need that. Leeds don't need that. Nobody needs that. So if it is the agent, I know he's only a kid, but he's got a family. Smarter heads here would say, get a different agency. There's plenty of good agencies in Leeds who represent players within Leeds, who represent the young players there as well. That could help. Max, where's your head at?
That's them, isn't it? Hayden Evans and Richard Cresswell. They obviously do Charlie Cresswell, Archie Gray, and Jamie Shackleton, and some other players, and some of the young lads. And obviously, all of those players seem to have their heads switched on. So, well, they have their heads screwed on right, not heads switched on. I mixed up two sayings there. But I mean, I think if he was playing in the team every week and scoring goals, I don't think this happens. These rumors start to bubble again. I think it's just because he's out of a bit of form, really, and he's been sat on the bench. And that was the first thing I saw when this all started bubbling up again, was Wilfried Gnonto not happy with game time and stuff like that. I mean, but
he's just come back from injury though as well, hasn't he? He's literally just come back from an injury. I think he's been available for 3 matches, started one and come off the bench in 2. So it can't be that bad in my eyes anyway.
I know it's a short career, football, but I don't see the rush when you're still that young. He's still, what is he? Still 19, isn't he?
Exactly. He's not that. It's not that short a career.
You can afford to try and get promoted with the team, and that looks good on your CV as well. And I think that's like one of the prime things to get signed, even if he waits till the summer, which wouldn't be the end of the world for us, to be honest. I think most of us would probably take 30 million if we could get it for him. So, especially considering we bought him for 5. So, if he just gets his head down, tries to have a good championship season, and just wait till the summer, don't say anything. Don't get your agent saying anything. Just play and just enjoy your football whilst you're 19 years old. And just then, I mean, sounds like I'm having to go at him. I'm not, because I think it, like you said, Jerry, it probably is his agent, but like, is he not getting paid enough? His agent, like, football agents and football players get paid so much money. I think sometimes they need a bit of a reality check and say, look, like what Bielsa did when he made them all go and pick up litter and stuff. Yeah. I think you need that sort of thing with players like Gnonto and players who are on about going and getting a better move and bigger money and all this sort of thing. It's like, look at what the fans have to do to be able to afford to come to and get a ticket, and the percentage of their wage that they spend on coming to the football compared to what that would be of your wage is like ridiculous. And so I don't know. I think sometimes footballers need a bit of perspective for once.
Farke said it though. Like, Farke keeps saying it. They have a privileged career. He said, yes, it's not a long career, but it is a privileged career. It is a level they get to be at for a period of time where they get to make a lot of money. They get to have a good life, a good standard. You know, they are not training 8 hours a day every day. They get to spend time with family. They get to have a nice life, where the people that are paying to go and see them are out doing 40 plus hours a week, 8 to 10 hour days, shift work, working their backsides off to get a few quid to be able to afford what is a very expensive ticket in terms of the pricing of the championship, as well as everything else that goes along with that. Shirts with your name on it, like, players get a cut of that, whereas the person buying the shirt's paying €90 for an Adidas shirt. That's probably about €70 more expensive than it should be. you know. So there is a lot of money that the fans put out to go and watch these players. But not only that, young players would look up to somebody. So young kids would look up to somebody like Willie Gnonto and Chris Somerville, and they'd be their heroes. They would be the players that we've talked about this, Max, on your show. Like, these are the players they're growing up watching. These are their heroes of their age bracket, you know, and they can be very influential. And, you know, Willie will go on to do bigger things. I'm sure he will than Leeds United. But while he's at Leeds United, he should enjoy it, just how big Leeds United can feel, and actually probably is. And I think maybe his agent again is possibly blurring the lines or muddying the water a little bit to stop him from seeing that. But you see the players that have left Leeds, and they continually talk about the atmosphere at Ellen Road and the fan base, and you hear it said. There was one of the vloggers that was covered in the Square Ball this week. I think it's Josh is his name. He does the
Fusion Josh.
Yeah, I saw that.
Is Fusion Josh the Manchester United guy, or the guy that does the?
No, he's the guy that does all over.
Yeah,
because they said allegedly that he got caught ticket touting for Brighton because he supports Brighton, so he's been going around he got a 5-year ban, so it's now going around all the other clubs. So
that's a neutral enough fan standing on the far end of the park in the King Power Stadium talking about, and his reaction was brilliant. He goes, "God, they're loud!" Like, that's that tells you how loud. And you can hear them on it. You're going, he looks right beside them, and he's like, "Nope."
This is what frustrates me about modern football. In that, you see, we like to think. Well, we know that as fans of Leeds United, that how big of a club it is and how special it is in terms of the atmosphere compared to most of the sanitized clubs in England
with the company seats.
Yeah, but it's like players just want to go to the Premier League. So when some of those players that we signed when we were in the Premier League, they probably didn't care that they were going to Leeds United. They cared that they were going to the Premier League. And that case in point is people going to Bournemouth, Luis Sinistera. Like, I know it's a different division. I know you'll be on more money, but do you know what I mean? Like, it's just they just want to be in the Premier League and at all costs, when really that, like, I know it's the Championship and I know it's a division lower, but sometimes you spend an extra year in a massive club and you might think, do you know what, this feels so much better than when I played for, I don't know, FC Zurich, like Wilfried Gnonto, where it's in Switzerland, small league, small club, and it's not
crowds.
Yeah, small crowds. And then you look at playing for Leeds and you're like, look at that roar. Listen to that roar when you come out on the pitch and score a goal or anything like that. And then you see going to other away grounds and the way that they've got clappers or whatever they're called at Leicester and honesty flags or whatever they were called, those little things that are supposed to put back on the seat again. And it's like, well, it's just so sanitized, and I feel like players don't really care about football anymore, like the off-pitch side of football, if you will. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. It does, yeah.
There's no Steve Bulls left in football anymore, is there? I mean, he was a great player, and he played with Wolves in all the divisions. He just stayed with Wolves, played in all the divisions.
Single club player.
Yeah, you don't see anybody like that anymore. No one thought.
Gary Kelly with us.
They were quite common back then, weren't they? Players who would play.
No,
but were they not?
No, they weren't. No, because I remember being young when Steve Bull was a striker at Wolves. And I used to watch an awful lot of them on Football Focus on a Saturday, and there's a name from the past. But I used to watch a bit of Steve Bull, and they used to always comment on it. You know, one club player. I mean, if it was a regular enough thing, I don't think you'd give him that label as being a one club player, because other players are doing it as well.
Yeah,
players did move. They didn't move as frequently as they move now, and they didn't move as quickly, but they did move. Where Steve Bull just, I mean, as you said, Kev, good and bad times at Wolves, and he stayed there.
Because I was just thinking,
he played for England while he was at Wolves. He was scoring goals in the second division and playing for England, and that's what you could do back then if you were good enough that they picked you. But yeah, this just doesn't. The people just want to be in this show. They don't want to be part of the show. They want to be in the big show. And that's what we find out, like with your Sinister with Tyler Adams. He probably won't even kick a ball again for the Bournemouth this season. And he wanted to be part of that show. Going to play in front of 10,000, 13,000 fans. It's just, I mean, I know myself now, if I was a professional footballer, I'd only ever want to play for Leeds United. And that would be, I wouldn't want to, if I got offered to go anywhere else, I know I wouldn't do it. But It's because it's a different generation of people as well now. They're all young
That's
kids.
why.
Yeah.
That's why you need more people like Alan Shearer as well. You know how obviously he started at Southampton and Blackburn, but when he went to Newcastle, he was like, do you know what? I wouldn't leave. And they've asked him since, and he said, I wouldn't change any of it because I played for my boyhood club. I played for my dad's club. He always goes on about, doesn't he, that he beat Jackie Milburn's record, and that was his proudest thing because that was his dad's favorite player. And there's nobody that really gives a shit about stuff like that anymore. Sorry for swearing. You might have to beep this one.
That's fine.
No, but nobody really cares about that sort of thing anymore, do they? Where a player that was like, you just thought somebody like Calvin Phillips, yeah, he's really, really good, but like, is he ever going to be like Man City level? Or I don't know, like I would have just loved him to just go, do you know what, I'm just going to stick at Leeds.
Yeah. I mean, we go back over the years and we've talked about this, Max. You look at the amount of players that Leeds had leave them during the bad times in the Championship to go to the Premier Leagues, like when Taylor left, when Byram left. And, you know, there's a ton of young players there. Johnny House, another one. You know, all these players, Luciano Becchio when he went to Norwich, Jermaine Beckford when he went to Everton. Like, if they'd have all stayed, you would have got all of them at one point together. And that would have been a hell of a team, you know? But I get that there was a point. And I think the money was a lot less then. I mean, it's only gone back a couple of years, but there's been a significant jump in the wealth since then.
But even so, like, it's impossible to get that instilled into them what it means because they've never earned a normal amount of money. So like us having normal jobs and earning like a normal human amount of money, normal wage, we're like, I know that if I went to Leeds and I was on however much money a week, it wouldn't have to be anywhere near as much as some of the players are on. And I would go, yeah, I'll stay there for the rest of my whole career and put it all in a savings account. Like there's no way of instilling that into them because from the moment they're 17, 18, they're just on mega money. And it's like,
well, you're millionaires before you're 20. You know, you're
Archie Gray's probably out earning all of us. And he's 17.
Well, he definitely will be on his next contract. But yeah,
definitely.
Not listen, but they're still earning a significant amount of money. But I'm an idealist with a lot of things, so I kind of sit on this position where I'm like, at some point during your career, you'll have too much money. And what that means is you can't spend the amount that you've got anymore. Like you've got so much there. And once you've got all the things that you want, the big house, the nice cars, all the stuff you want, there's just a bank account sitting there that's just gaining interest, growing, adding more money, more endorsements, everything else. And it just becomes a point where it's like, well, what am I going to do with this money? Because I can't spend it. You might do what David Beckham does and buy a football club, but that's the next kind of step of going, well, blow a huge amount of money on this. And then at the end of your career, like, what do you want to have said about you when you finish your career? What do you want to be viewed at? Because I look at Alan Shearer and look, I'm Irish, so talking about English national players is not something we would run around the streets here doing, you know, but I look at Alan Shearer as probably one of my youth idols when I was growing up playing football because he was a very, very good footballer. He was a super pro and he was idolized by those fans up there. And he will have a statue, I'm sure, at some point outside that ground.
One of the names that you shout in the playground when you go to strike a ball.
Oh, Shearer.
And it's just what kids do, isn't it? And it's just one of the, like, and I think players who float around from club to club, I get it, but then like an Ibrahimovic, like he's done it in all of the top 5 leagues. And it's like brilliant, but then which club do you really club do you sort of think of him at? Maybe AC Milan was probably because
Milan,
it was the most recent. And but even so, he's PSG, Man United, Barcelona. He's it's impressive, but like, I don't know. I suppose because he's Swedish, none of them would have been his hometown club. But like, I don't know. You just don't see it very often, do you?
What's wrong with going back to Malmo when you're one of the world's best players and elevating that club again? You know, like I love seeing players coming back to their hometown clubs. But then I also and again, I heard Lockie saying on your channel about the stream team about Alan Smith coming back to Leeds or you know, players of that time coming back. James Milner, sorry, it was. You know, wouldn't it be great if we'd stayed up, he'd come back this year? But you know, I'm like, yeah, it would be great to see it. But wouldn't it be better if we stayed and played their peak years here and got us up to that level and really help push the club up, you know? And I know it can be frustrating. There's times where you look at the club and the club's ambitions not matching yours. And Leeds have had tons of that over the years where players had certain ambition. The club's ambition was so far below that. But there is a thing for me where, and again, I'm biased. Is white tinted glasses here. I would crawl on broken glass to play in Elland Road. I would, I will pay you to let me play a game there. There we go, right? But footballers are different. I think the lads that come through are different. You see some of the, and then this is the whole conversation with loyalty as well. And that seems to be a one-way street when it comes to some of our fan base as well. It's like we demand loyalty from you, but as soon as you're not playing well, we want you gone. We've no loyalty to you. It turns like that. And there's been players at Leeds, and especially the younger players coming through, like Jamie Shackleton and that. Like, I don't want to see him turfed out the club. I don't want to see him leave the club. He's a Leeds lad. He's coming through the club. He's a decent player. He's never let us down, really. I'd like to see those players stay because they want to stay. Those players will want to stay here, and I think that's important. But again, I'm an idealist. I don't understand.
It's almost just as much of a shame, isn't it, when there's a young player who's brilliant and has to go on to a new height. But there's also young players who come through who are Leeds lads. They've come through the academy and they don't quite cut it, and then you kind of have to let them go as well. And that's almost worse because it's like they don't want to go, but they just might not be quite good enough. And then that's a bit sad as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
How long do you hang on to them to see if they're going to make the break? Again, Niall Huggins is a really good example because he's having a great season this year with Sunderland, who are doing very, very well. But Niall Huggins 2 or 3 years ago at Leeds, you were like going, probably won't make the grade, and now he's doing it. Leaf Davis as well. There's lots of them. There's lots of them over the years where you go, and then there's players you thought would go on to better things. I thought Johnny Howson would go on to be an England international. I couldn't have been more wrong with that. Johnny's kind of just floated around the championship with different clubs and the odd season in the Premier League, but hasn't really set the world on fire.
Sam Byram when he was coming through, you thought,
I thought Lewis Cook was going to be the next big starting midfielder for England at the time.
I think Lewis Cook was just stuck at a club where he's not. I think if Lewis Cook left Bournemouth, you'd see a different Lewis Cook. I really do, because every time I watch Lewis Cook playing, I think he still looks like a very good midfielder. It was just whatever it is about Bournemouth just sucking the life out of him. I don't know, but I'd love to see him move away from Bournemouth. He was savage when he was with us, and very young as well. So. So there you go, Willie. There's our opinion on, stick around, Willie. They'll build a statue to you eventually. There you go. We're wrapping up there, folks. Just a quick reminder to let you know, Kev at Leeds House, details are down below, and Not Another Leeds podcast are linked below as well. There's also a link at the end of this video for their last podcast, so you can go check them out if you want to get a little sample of that. And also Max from Leeds Lady is doing his Dream Team stuff as well. Max, what's going on your channel this week?
There will be another episode of Dreams Teams next Wednesday. Guest yet to be confirmed. And obviously this weekend is the game, so there will be live stream and match reaction as well. So hopefully it's a good result for us. And then there'll be something to watch in the international break as well.
Kev, how about you?
We've got a show tomorrow, Not Another Leeds podcast live, and then we're going to do the Sunday Club on obviously Sunday. So yeah, we've got a couple of shows.
You had to think about that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we've got a couple of shows coming out, so we'll be doing like our Plymouth preview with our signature comedy and stuff tomorrow. We've got Andrea on with us, and then Sunday it'll be me, Danny, and James just going over, I guess, from the Plymouth game and whatever's going on in the world. So yeah, got that coming up.
It's a really enjoyable podcast to listen to. I laugh a lot when I watch it. It's a very, very enjoyable one to watch. So go check it out. We were going to cover some other stuff around transfers and that, but we're at 53 minutes. So what we'll do is we'll park that and we'll come back to it next week, because 2 of the 3 transfers that I had written down probably aren't real. But we'll get to that next week. We'll have a look at it. Cheers, folks, for watching. I'll be back with the match preview. If you're watching this on Friday tonight, if you're watching it on Thursday as a member, tomorrow night. So the match preview will be out tomorrow night with Andrew Dalton from LUFC Stats as well. And then we'll have some form of a match review over the weekend as well. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon. See you. Bye.